You brought up something they did, and 20 minutes later, you were the one apologizing. Think about how strange that is. You walked in with a legitimate concern, something they did that hurt you, and somehow by the end, the conversation was entirely about how you had wronged them. You were comforting them. You were saying sorry. Your original point had vanished completely, like it was never on the table. If that has happened to you again and again, you weren't imagining it, and you weren't bad at making your case. You walked into a specific, well-worn move. It has a name, and once you can see it, it becomes almost funny how predictable it is. It's called DARVO, and it might be the single most common way accountability gets dodged. Today, we name it, break it into its 4 steps, and I'll show you how to keep your feet when someone runs it on you, because naming the tactic is how it loses its grip. The usual careful note first: I'm not helping you diagnose anyone, and not every defensive reaction is DARVO. People get defensive. That's human. DARVO is the pattern, a reliable, aggressive flip used to escape being held accountable. We're spotting a behavior, not labeling a person. Here's what the letters stand for, because the tactic is literally its own instruction manual. DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. That last part is the whole trick. By the end, the person who did the harm is playing the victim, and the person who was harmed is cast as the offender. The roles get swapped, and you, being a reasonable person who's willing to consider you might be wrong, get pulled right into the swap. So here's the one thing I want you to carry out of this video. DARVO works by using your own fairness against you. The moment they play hurt, your instinct to be reasonable kicks in. And that instinct is exactly what the tactic is counting on. Let me walk you through the 4 steps, because seeing them in order is what breaks the spell. Step 1 is deny. You raise the thing, they flatly deny it happened or deny it was a big deal. I didn't do that. You're overreacting. It was nothing. This alone can knock you off balance, because now you're already fighting just to establish that the thing occurred. Step 2 is attack. This is where they come at you. Not the issue, you. Why are you always looking for problems? You're so insecure. After everything I do for you, this is what you focus on? The point of the attack isn't to be fair, it's to put you on the back foot so you stop pressing your concern and start defending yourself. And steps 3 and 4 happen together: reverse victim and offender. Suddenly, they're the wounded party. They're hurt that you'd accuse them. They're the one who's really been suffering here. And now the whole emotional weather of the room has flipped. You came in hurt, and now you're managing their hurt, apologizing for having brought it up at all. The original harm is gone. Mission accomplished. So how do you hold your ground when the roles start swapping under your feet? The first defense is simply to name it to yourself silently as it happens. This is why we learn the pattern. The second you feel the conversation flip and the denial, then the jab at you, then them somehow becoming the victim, a calm voice in your head goes, "This is DARVO. I know this move." That recognition is enormous, because DARVO relies on you being disoriented. The moment you can name the steps as they land, you stop being swept along by them. The second defense is to refuse to defend yourself against the attack. When step 2 comes and they turn it on you, every instinct says to answer the charge, to prove you're not insecure, not always looking for problems. Don't take the bait. That defense is the detour that makes you forget your original point. Just calmly return to it. We're not talking about me right now. We're talking about the thing that happened. You don't argue the attack, you decline it, and walk the conversation back. The third defense is to hold the original point plainly and without heat. One sentence repeated as needed. That may be, and the thing I brought up still happened, and I'd like to talk about it. You're not escalating, not counterattacking, not getting pulled into their sudden wound. You're just a steady post in the ground that the reversal can't move. Most of the tactic's power is momentum. Keep quietly returning to the real issue, and the momentum dies. Now let me be honest about the hard part. Not falling for DARVO can feel cold, even cruel, because when someone acts genuinely hurt, refusing to drop everything and comfort them goes against everything decent in you. And sometimes people are genuinely hurt, and the situation's just messy, not manipulative. So this isn't about becoming suspicious of everyone's feelings. It's about noticing when hurt arrives on cue, every single time you raise a concern, always in a way that buries the concern. That reliable, convenient timing is the tell. And the important line, plainly. When DARVO is chronic, when you can never raise a problem without becoming the accused, when every attempt to be heard ends with you apologizing, that pattern is corrosive, and it can be part of an abusive dynamic. If that's your life, real confidential help exists. In immediate crisis, call or text 988. To talk it through safely, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-723. You're allowed to have a concern without it being turned into your crime. So the next time you bring something up and feel the floor start to flip, the denial, the jab, the sudden reversal, name it in your head, decline the bait, and calmly plant your one true sentence. You came in with a real point. You get to keep it. And remember, this is education, not therapy, and not a diagnosis of anyone, just a way to recognize the move. Next video, the opposite end of the pattern, the overwhelming too good to be true intensity at the start before any of this shows up. It's called love bombing. Subscribe so it's there when you need it.